bienvenue pour ces Meetup Kotlin. Je m'appelle Karine, je travaille chez Pivotal. On a deux talks aujourd'hui. On commence avec celui-là, qui c'est un peu l'introduction Kotlin et comment faire des applications côté serveur avec Kotlin. On a eu beaucoup de côté Android, le dernier Meetup. Alors on est ici pour présenter un peu la partie serveur aussi qu'on peut faire avec Kotlin. J'espère que ça va aller avec une présentation en anglais parce que mon français, voilà, je peux le faire mais c'est pas parfait. Alors je serai plus à l'aise avec l'anglais et j'espère que vous pouvez comprendre, j'espère. Mais dans tout cas, après on aura, après les sessions, un petit buffet juste en nom. Et vous pouvez me poser des questions en français sans problème. Voilà.
Bonjour, désolé pour le t-shirt, j'ai pas fait exprès. Je m'appelle Florent, je suis collègue de Karine et Tim ici présent à Pivotal Labs Paris.
Bonsoir, je m'appelle Tim, je travaille chez Pivotal aussi, avec Karine et avec Florent. Pour ce soir, je joue le rôle de stakeholder, parce que Pivotal c'est une équipe, comment on dit en français, perhaps in English will be easier. Pivotal is a consulting company, so we ask our clients to come here on site and to work with us, and we pair. We share all the things that we do, and the entire reason for working with Pivotal is so that you can work in the way that we do. There's no secrets, we share everything together. And so I'll be playing the role of a stakeholder tonight. I'm coming here to work with Karini and Florent and to build an application.
Yeah, so our presentation will be focused on a lot of coding and as well as the methodology of Pivotal on how we work on the projects. So yeah, we are going to talk about all these things, which are super cool in Kotlin, within some coding. So yeah.
Cool. So there's an application that my company has on their phones. We really like it. It's called Where Is My Beer? It's called Mr. Beer. You can use it to find bars and restaurants that have beer that are of your choosing, different flavors, different prices, other settings. It's nice. But I really prefer rosé. So when I'm out in the night, I want to go find rosé that matches the requirements that I have. So I'm here. I've been with Pivotal for 4 weeks. We've been doing a discovering and framing process to kind of help us understand what users' needs are. So we've gone and talked to real users. We've found people in bars. We've talked to them. We've asked them how they use apps. We have a good idea of what we should be building. And I want to have this app. It doesn't exist. So I'm very sad. But we're going to build it. So the designers have been making these very low fidelity mock-ups, but they give us a lot of space in the future to iterate. You can see there's already a lot of things you can see here. You can see the names of places, you can see the prices. There's already enough information here to be very actionable. And so I hope that we prioritize stories for our engineers to work on that are going to start delivering value. As you can see here, I have a backlog of stories. I want to see a list of places, I want locations, I want to add all of them, I want to see things in the price range, but I'm starting very small. I want to see, as a wine enthusiast, a list of places with rosé, so I can find the best price. And let's see what Karini and Florent do.
So let's bootstrap the project now. So one easy way to do it is to use the Spring Initializer. So you can check start.spring.io. And one of the new options, as you can see up there, is you can pick Kotlin as a language. So it's becoming a first-class citizen in this whole Spring ecosystem. And because you do Android and you like Gradle, we decided to pick Maven. And we're gonna build basically REST APIs. That's why we've picked everything we need to, as you can see in the green kind of button-shaped areas with web and REST repository and DevTools for local productivity tools. So of course, everybody loves Maven, everybody loves XML. So when you download the skeleton app, that's what you get at first, so don't be afraid. So I'm not sure everyone can read it, but basically the thing you need to know about Maven, it is heavily biased towards Java. So you need to make it understand that it's a Kotlin project, so you need to configure the layout, just basically say src main Kotlin, src test Kotlin, etc., etc. You need to configure as well the compiler plugins so that it's using the compiler for Kotlin. And one interesting thing is, if you know Kotlin a bit, you know it favors immutability by default. So when you declare a class, by default you cannot extend it. And if you think a little bit about how Spring Framework works, and Sebastian will probably detail that a lot more, especially with Spring 5, it uses proxy, etc. So by default, if you don't do anything, you cannot use Spring Framework in Kotlin, right? You would have to change your code to make sure that all your annotated classes are properly extendable, so by using open class. But luckily for us, there is already something that's called the compiler plugin, so a Spring one, which basically uses the all open, and that says for all classes that are annotated with a Spring annotation, so at component, at bin, etc., please make those classes seen as open to the compiler. So you don't have to change your code, you just need to tell the Kotlin compiler plugin, so as it's hidden in this pile of XML there, to use the Spring compiler plugin, and that will work as well. And of course, because we're on the server side, we try to target a recent JDK version. So as you can see, we decided to pick the Kotlin for the Java runtime environment version 8. And that's probably all you need to know. So this work is done for you basically because you got it through Spring Initializer. And you can do the exact same with Gradle, of course. So now that we've got the foundation ready, let's start pairing with my colleague Karin over there and start with the first test. So I will first want to express my intention, so I will start with the tests. The user story we need to work on is to find all the places. So that's the joy of TDD is first you make it red, so you make the test fail, and then you make sure it got green with the minimal effort for the implementation. And this kind of transition, you use it with a test. So basically I will use the built-in mock MVC from Spring MVC tests, just to express that whenever I request the endpoint /API/places, so it does not exist yet, I will expect an OK response. And I will get JSON as a response and make sure I have Kotlin Meetup and Rosebar as places with the prices of 2 and 3.3. And one interesting thing is because mock MVC is something managed by Spring, you can use the late init. So that means basically in Kotlin that it will be initialized later. And if you try to call it and it's still null, it will fail. So basically, you just say to Kotlin somehow, trust Spring, it will initialize it for you in this case. So now, obviously the implementation is not ready, I have no endpoint yet. So when I start my Spring Boot app, I just get a 404, and that's when my colleague Karini will take over and start with the implementation.
Yeah, so we're going to implement and make this task pass. So here you can see some stuff that implements that and that use Kotlin specific keywords. So for starts, in the top, we define the place, and this place, this class, will have this data keyword before, which will provide you a bunch of functionality. So we'll make for you the compare to, equals, toString, and we'll make your life much easier for defining your models in your application. So normally our models are always with the data class, and that helps us a lot. This is also going to be easy for afterwards to be serialized for JSON and so on. Then we have some Spring magic going here. For example, the REST controller thing, the request mapping, all these annotations are from Spring. We are going to have further talk about that. And then what I want to show here as well is how we implemented the endpoint, so the function displays. One interesting thing as well in Kotlin is that you can use these single expressions, which is basically saying, this is the result I have for this function. So you just need to use equals a value, and this function will return that always. It's quite like, it's not verbose, so it makes your code very clear to read and very short. And now we have our test passing. Yay!
Okay, so that was great. I think I came here, I saw something, it was very quick, and I'm still not quite convinced that we've delivered enough value, but I can see that the user can see some more things. So I'm going to ask that the two of you continue iterating upon the things you built and kind of demonstrate you can keep iterating at the same pace. So can we now see a list of places regarding their price so that I can specify a price range and start to sort of have the users say what rosé they're looking for within a range. So how does Pivotal kind of continue iterating upon that?
Yeah, sure. So again, we are going to express that need into some tests. And here we can see that my tests will be like with these new parameters, minimum price and maximum price, that will tell the range that I want my rosé. So regarding the values I put, I will have some places and not the others. And we have a fading test to start.
Cool. So let's start with a naive implementation first. So I have the list of places already. Okay, I just need to filter and make sure it's in the range. Sounds simple, right? So you have the magic it parameter here. So if you've done some Groovy, for instance, that's exactly the same name. In Scala, you can use underscore, but basically it means the single parameter of the lambda that you pass to filter. So which it means it will represent the current place that is currently iterated on. So I could I'm almost there, basically, so I just make sure that the price is between the min and max price specified to the request over there. But then, as you can see, the IDE complains, basically. So first, there is a hint that tells me, hey, you could have more idiomatic code here if you use range check. And also I have an error, because as you can see, double, I'm not using double, I'm using a new label of double, basically to express the fact that the parameter is optional, and when the parameter is not provided, then it needs to set null instead. So by default, types in Kotlin are not null, you need to use this question mark to express that it's nullable. And that's what the problem is here. Basically, when I have this min price or max price, so those are nullables, and I'm trying to compare them to the price of places that are not nullable. So I have two improvements to do. So now I've got, in a one-liner, I've fixed everything. So first, I will make sure that I'm converting from nullable of double to just double, and I can use the Elvis operator that also exists in Groovy, for instance. So if we look at min price or max price, that's the same thing. I will make sure that if I don't have a value, I will rely on default one. And then, so before we had this double condition on the previous slide, here I can just use the in syntax, in parentheses, first bound, dot, dot, second bound, and closing parentheses, basically. So now I've used a much more idiomatic Kotlin code, and I handle gracefully the nullable case, basically.
Cool. Feeling a lot better. I see that you've uncovered some things that we hadn't quite defined in the story, and you continue to stay proactive through that. It was really cool. I think now that we've had that sort of baseline level, it'd be really good to be able to have a nicer user experience. So when we're out at the bar having rosé, and we've had 9 drinks, 10 drinks, people are going to start using the app incorrectly. They're going to start entering wildly incorrect prices. And if someone says, I want rosé that is less than $1 but greater than $100 or €100, well, the application should do something, it should help them. So how can we do that?
Yeah, so
So again, I will express first the intention, and then let my colleague Corinne to take over. So the endpoint is already there. I'm just simulating here that I have a min price that is larger than the max price, which doesn't make any sense, but again, after 10 roses, maybe it does. And when that happens, I want to make sure that I've got not an OK response, but a bad request, so for code 400, and that I have a nice error message, so even people that have drunk a lot can understand what they did wrong. So I just expect that have basically an explicit message here.
Cool. And now we are going to pass to the implementation. So what we did first, we are going to refactor to a function, so keep in mind that. And then we are going to make a sealed class. So sealed class in Kotlin are something you can use to define some, for example, states. It's kind of a enum plus. And what we are doing here is to define two states for my price. So it can be in an invalid range or it can be okay. I also define that they have a message. So for example, the message, the error message that I'm expecting in my test is written here. Then I will make a function that will make the validation of the prices. So basically it's taking both price and make sure I return either the invalid range, either the okay. Then I have my old function that lists places with the parameters of minimum price and maximum price. Now I'm not returning just a list, I'm returning a response entity because I want to change the status code of my call. So that's why I changed the returning value. And then I again use the single expression, so I make the equal. And I use this magical word in Kotlin that's when. So when is going to pick what is in the parentheses and check with all my options. So basically we'll take the return value of validate price, and if the type is error invalid range, I'll then respond with the bad request, which is what I'm expecting in the error case, and the message in the body. Otherwise, I would just respond okay with the list that we refactored before. Price. Kotlin will, so I add there a line object too much, too expensive, and Kotlin will actually make a compilation error in the when, because if I have one more option that's not covered in my options here, the is error invalid is okay, that's not valid. You must cover all your cases in the when, and that's kind of a safe net when you are coding to not forget about the case. So that's pretty cool. And so we have our test passing. Yes. So I did not put yet in my GitHub, but I will put this presentation in the code we did for it in my GitHub for the Kotlin Meetup. And yeah, thank you all. And if you have any questions, we will be happy to answer. Thank you.
Vous pouvez demander en français si vous préférez.
Ah oui.
Des questions? Quelqu'un? Bah ok. Après on sera là pour parler avec tout le monde.